If you really tapped in during the last bear market, you could have been one of thousands to be blessed with airdrops ranging from $18,000 all the way to $250,000 for free. Now, do you see why little Timmy with the stimmy is feeling a ways about that little old 1200 from 2020? Well, if you focus your full and undivided attention for the next 15 minutes, you could set yourself up to strike an even bigger payday. The single most important airdrop in the history of crypto is taking place in less than 30 days. But most of the so-called thought leaders and influencers in the space don't have a clue. If you haven't been in the right rooms, talking to the right folks, it would have been easy to miss. But fret not, because I'm here to bring the good news. So, what is this airdrop, and why does it have the potential to completely reinvent everything we know about token launches, protocol governance, and maybe even securities laws? More importantly, how do you get in position to benefit from this airdrop? Simple. Watch this entire keynote, start to finish. There's no filler, no deceptive retention tactics, just game. By the end, I promise you'll know everything you need to know to get your piece of the biggest airdrop in history. But first, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on time-sensitive and life-changing information again. Now, let's get this magic internet money. Airdrops Explained. Airdrops are a mechanism for projects and protocols to directly distribute tokens or other digital assets to a group of user wallets free of charge. Typically, the goal is either to increase decentralization of a native governance token, to reward early or highly engaged contributors, as a guerrilla marketing tactic for boosted awareness and attention. Generally speaking, the most effective and most lucrative airdrops achieve at least two of the above, if not all three. Uniswap, who's widely credited for kicking off the airdrop meta, was able to tick all three boxes as they distributed 400 Uni tokens to each wallet that interacted with the protocol. ENS, Ethereum naming service, rewarded users who previously minted a name. And Yuga Labs, well, they made airdrops a staple of NFTs when they made Bored Ape Kennel Club a free mint for base holders and dropped mutant vials shortly afterwards. Now, to some, the perks of gaining governance rights is more than enough. The added exposure for a protocol? A bonus. For the mass majority of folks, though, airdrops are a lottery ticket, a hope for a big payday. And given past results, this isn't just wishful thinking. The Uniswap airdrop was worth $1,200 the day it distributed. If you'd held on to it and managed to sell around its peak of $45, it was worth $18,000. The ENS drop ranged from roughly $17,000 to $84,000 on the high end, and DYDX peaked between $8,600 for the lowest tier and $265,000 for top users. Sure, we're assuming that these recipients sold everything at the peak price, but still, folks have earned hundreds of thousands of dollars for simply being early and consistent supporters of new protocols and dApps. Not once, not twice, but several times. And it's about to happen again. The Root Network airdrop. The Root Network is a substrate-based EVM-compatible blockchain with a deliberate focus on onboarding non-technical users to Web3, optimized for user experience and purpose-built to enable an interoperable metaverse. The network has native support for dynamic NFTs, a multi-token gas economy powered by Ripple's XRP ledger, a federally recognized decentralized identity protocol, compliant DeFi supported by the MasterCard network, decentralized communications, and even an artificial intelligence protocol. Again, this is all architected directly into the base layer of the network and designed to work out of the box. And Root is the native token to the Root network and will be used for governance, securing the network via proof of stake, as a block reward for node operators and validators, as the primary in-game token for the Fluf World game, and it serves as an incentive in the network's data marketplace. The Futureverse is the formal roll-up of more than 8 individual companies responsible for building the core infrastructure powering the Root network. Some of the companies involved include Non-Fungible Labs, Silo, Altered State Machine, Shadows Interactive, CentraPass, CentraPay, and more. And together, the Futureverse is a team of more than 200 people who've raised over $500 million to build out the open metaverse. Now, there is a lot to chew on here, so I suggest you check out this video from Gary at Into the Futureverse, along with this video from The Defiant. So how can you best position yourself to benefit from this historic airdrop? Well, be willing to invest your capital, but as well as invest your attention and your time, because this is not your ordinary airdrop. So let's dive in. Eligibility. One of the most unique aspects of the Root Network airdrop is how eligibility works. Historically, most airdrops have come from DeFi protocols, not Layer 1 networks. As a result, eligibility requirements have typically revolved around actions that drive liquidity to the protocol, such as making a trade, swapping tokens, taking out a loan, or depositing capital into a liquidity pool to deepen order books. Now, in the case of the Root Network, content, IP, and gamified experiences have been the initial points of user traction, not DeFi. As a result, airdrop eligibility comes from holding NFTs from the Futureverse ecosystem. It's generally assumed that most, if not all, of the Genesis collections across the ecosystem will be eligible in some way. But it's worth noting that the only 100% confirmed assets at the time of publication are Fluf World, Party Bears, Burrows, and the Next Legends. Regardless, holding an eligible NFT is just one part of the larger equation. Now, if you're curious which collections are part of the Futureverse ecosystem, I advise you to check out this video I did on Altered State Machine, because I mentioned damn near every one of them in that video. But you can also go to the Fluf World collection on OpenSea, and there will be links to the rest of the collections. Now, to actually receive and redeem the airdrop requires your active participation through phased challenges. At a high level, these challenges are a way to gradually ramp up network activity, to teach people key skills necessary to work their way towards becoming an informed participant and contributor of the network. It also happens to be a clever way to minimize the risk of the SEC claiming the airdrop is somehow a violation of securities laws. To give you an idea, one of the first challenges will be migrating assets from the Next Legends Genesis collection from Ethereum over to the Root network. And this both initiates a distributed transfer of value to the network while also teaching people how to use a cross-chain bridge. Now, another challenge involves generative AI art from the Thingies collection, rewarding those who've been actively exploring the artificial intelligence aspect of the ecosystem. But given that each of the Genesis assets has a unique role to play within the broader Futureverse ecosystem, expect certain challenges to require a synergistic combination of assets to fully participate. For instance, you may need a burrow and a thingy for one challenge, or a bear and a buzzy for another. Just something to keep in mind. Claim mechanics. So you've acquired some airdrop eligible NFTs, and you've participated in the correct challenges to receive your allocation of Root. Well, there is one last hurdle: the time-delayed reverse claim mechanism. Historically, most airdrops grant access to the full allocation of your tokens from day one, as was the case with Uniswap and ENS. The benefit? You can access and sell all your tokens as soon as there's a liquid market. The downside? You can access and sell all your tokens as soon as there's a liquid market. According to the white paper, a fraction of the Root token airdrop will be available immediately, but the bulk of the allocation will gradually become claimable over time. The earlier the claim, the more of your allocation you forfeit. And the forfeited tokens go back into a pool to be divided amongst the remaining claimants. So, TLDR, the longer you wait, the more Root you're eligible to claim. The game theory here has two benefits. The first being reduced sale pressure from what would otherwise be the standard post-airdrop bubble up and crash as recipients sell en masse. The second benefit is sustained engagement. It's quite likely there'll be a steady stream of challenges for several months, if not years, following the initial launch and upfront claim. To maximize rewards, users will have to remain engaged with the ecosystem, helping to avoid the sharp drop-off that typically happens post-airdrop, and better positioning the Futureverse to establish enduring network effects as current community members draw in new ones. Potential ROI. At this point, you're likely asking yourself if it's worth it to get involved. Only you can make that decision, but there's enough information available to allow for some healthy speculation. Let's start by assessing the distribution model. According to the Futureverse white paper, there is a supply of 12 billion tokens, with a 10% allocation to initial community rewards, 15% to land mechanics, 10% to the ecosystem development fund, and 5% allocated to the block reward bootstrap. And with these figures, we can begin to extrapolate possible scenarios. Thankfully, a prominent community member, Kona, made a phenomenal thread for this very purpose. Now, Kona's projections assume that of the 10% allocated to initial community rewards, Flufs will receive 5% and Party Bears will receive 1%. Of the 15% allocated to land mechanics, it's assumed 5% will go to Burrows. Lastly, this assumes the max root claimable for each asset, meaning full participation and a longer wait to claim the tokens. With all that said, Kona projects 60,000 root for Fluffs, 12,000 root for Party Bears, 17,000 root for Dens, 68,000 root for Sweets, 154,000 root for High Rollers, and 274,000 root for Studio Snoop Dogg. Now, he takes it a step further to model the relative ROI based on the ETH price of each of these assets to see which is the better value in terms of money spent versus projected root allocation. I quite like this approach, so I updated the multiples to reflect the fiat-denominated floor prices at the time of publication. Assuming a $4 billion market cap, one root token equals 33 cents. Now, from best to worst ROI are Sweets at number 1, at nearly $23,000, which is a 23x return. High Rollers at $51,000, 14x. Dens at $5,600, another 14x. Studios at $90,000, an 11x. Party Bears at $4,000, a 5.5x. And Fluffs at $20,000, a 4.2x. Now again, these are just speculative projections. Do not base any decisions off of these numbers as fact. Expect more clarity once the challenges begin. Owning the future. Airdrops have been known to provide life-changing money to those fortunate and engaged enough to receive them. In the case of the Root Network, I'm confident this will go down as one of, if not the, most important airdrop in history. Of course, only time will tell, but the NFT airdrops and companion collections have already provided early Fluff holders with tens of thousands of dollars in value. The scale and impact of a Layer 1 network launch will far eclipse that. On that note, it's important to know that most airdrops don't come directly from Layer 1 networks themselves, but rather the dApps and protocols built on top. For networks that have issued tokens, they're usually sold to private investors and VCs via pre-mine events and private sales. Controversial and divisive as it may be for the community, this is what happened with Ethereum, as folks like Vitalik Buterin, Joe Lubin, and other co-founders and early contributors accumulated roughly 60% of the current total supply of Ethereum before any ICO ever took place. Yes, there is an allocation for early contributors and advisors for the Root Network and the Root token, but it's only 10%. The main way the VCs got exposure to Futureverse and the Root Network was through buying equity in the constituent companies. Now don't forget, by owning Root, you're in a position to be a validator or a staker and earn a portion of all the network fees. The more activity, the more rewards. Now again, only time will tell how everything shakes out. Still, there's every indication that the Root Network will be every bit as important for the advancement of Web3, NFTs, DeFi, and crypto as Bitcoin and Ethereum. But I guess we'll find out soon enough. Now, if you're really interested in diving deep into Web3 crypto NFTs, or you're preparing to launch a project, or you're a Web2 company trying to transition to Web3, get in contact with us at Native Assets, as this is our specialty and we can help advise you on precisely what you should and shouldn't do to see the most success in Web3. But that's it for today's keynote. My name is Sae'Von Springer, founder and managing partner of Native Assets and author of the Blockchain Blueprint. I appreciate you, and I'll talk to you real soon. Peace.